Hey everyone, this is Random Podcast. I'm Brandon,
I'm Blakey.
and we're going to start off with our animated top 10. So I guess we'll just go back and forth. So I'll start off. My number 10 is Batman: The Killing Joke. Now it is based on the graphic novel. I believe I'm sure the graphic novel was first, but this is like my only DC. And one thing I've always said about like the live action DCs are kind of like hit and miss, but I don't think I've hardly saw any ever bad DC animated. So I had to put at least one on here. There could have been more, but there's way bigger animated movies than that. So that's my number 10.
I went, my number 10 is the B movie with Jerry Seinfeld as a B.
I forget that movie exists.
I went a mix of Pixar and DreamWorks.
Yeah.
On my list, it's about 50-50, I would have to say.
Well, I mean, pretty much your biggest companies are Disney, Pixar, and DreamWorks. I mean, you got some outside.
Yeah. But I went the B movie because Jerry Seinfeld as a B is just hilarious to me.
Did you watch Seinfeld a lot?
Nah, I didn't watch Seinfeld. I just know of Seinfeld. But that was my number 10. My number 9 was, I know it's low on my list, but Toy Story. I think that's the first ever animation movie I've ever seen was Toy Story. And it still lives on to this day.
Because somebody tried to kill it.
Yeah.
My number 9 is Monsters, Inc. It probably should be higher, but this is a lot tougher list than I thought it would be. Especially ranking them now. If I could have just put 10 random, it would have been fine, but putting them in order. Monsters, Inc.'s one of those that captured for me because of the voice talent. You know, Billy Crystal, was it John Goodman? I'm trying to think of there's somebody else in it. But it's really good, and I mean, I don't really have much to say. It kind of speaks for itself that I think it's one of the highest grossing Pixar's too.
It's one of them.
Or it was. I mean, it's been surpassed because it's one of the older ones too. So, and it's still way better than Monster University. So, but that's my number 9. My number 8 is Sing. Sing is one of those movies. It's is it Pixar or DreamWorks?
DreamWorks.
I think it's DreamWorks, and the thing is with Sing, it has great voice talent, but it's the mixture of music for it is really good. And then there's the story. I mean, it's all really good. And Sing, as for newer as it is, it's considered one of the best ones. Anyway,
It's about the singing animals.
it would be higher. Yes, the singing animals. So, and Matthew McConaughey is the little koala, I believe. It's a koala bear. And he's trying to open his own theater and all that. So that's my number 8.
My number 8 is How to Train Your Dragon. I love like the Vikings, like age time. It's not, there wasn't dinosaurs, I mean dragons and Viking time, but it's just one of those movies I grew up loving. At number 8 is How to Train Your Dragon. Number 7, I have The Incredibles. It kind of brought superhero movies kind of back up in a way. At least for me. The story is good. Now I don't know if they had any big actor voices in there.
The guy that played Coach was Mr. Incredible, but then like I'm not sure about the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
Because I mean, which mine it is on my list too, but it's one of those, and I'll go ahead and say it now that was more the time period when voice actors with the mainstream actors, they would change their voices. Like sometimes, even though Craig T. Nelson's as obvious as Mr. Incredible, they would change their voices, unlike now where it's like straight up just they don't even change their voice like Chris Pratt. No offense. I mean, I love Chris Pratt, but yeah, change your voice, man.
Yeah. But that's my number 7.
My number 7 is Brave. I would like to put it higher, but with what I have ahead of it are like my all-time favorites. Brave gave us something kind of different, which she is one of the princesses. It put her in the princess category, and just the time period.
The medieval. No. Yeah.
Yeah, it's medieval. But my number 6, I know we're not going into heavy description, but these are kind of like everybody knows these.
Yeah.
Number 6, my number 6 is your number 7, The Incredibles. The Incredibles brought back, to me, non-Marvel DC. Like, we finally got a superhero movie that, I mean, I think 3's coming soon, I believe, in the next
Disney,
year or two.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, the same cast is coming back. The first one, the story was so good. Now, the second one, I'm not as big a fan of, but the first one was monumental. Because it was like they took from other,
Superhero.
like from DC and Marvel, if you kind of look at it. Because like Violet was kind of like Invisible Woman. The kid, which I can't remember the boy's name, was like Flash. Mr. Incredible was, like, you could put Superman, you can put a bunch of different ones. And then Elastigirl was like Mr. Fantastic. And you can combine them throughout DC and Marvel. But I don't know, it's honestly one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, too. I mean, it's up there.
At number 6, I have Shrek 2, not Shrek 1. Even though Shrek 1 is good to me, I feel like the story in Shrek 2 is a lot better. I actually like Michael Myers.
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers. Same
Michael
person.
Myers is the killer.
Mike might be short for Michael. I don't know.
I'm sure it is, but...
Yeah. I just like him voicing Shrek. Eddie Murphy playing Donkey. Cameron Diaz playing Fiona. And that's Antonio Banderas played Puss in Boots, didn't he?
Yes.
But I also that's why when we get the handsome Shrek was in Shrek 2.
I've only saw Shrek 1.
Wow.
And I know Shrek 2. I know Shrek 2.
But Shrek 2 is up there for me at number 6.
Which I think that's considered like the more popular.
I think it's the highest
grossing
DreamWorks movie, I think.
Is Lord Farquaad in 2?
That's 1.
Okay. J.D. McDonough was in that one.
At number 5, I have Kung Fu Panda, the first one.
Oh, that didn't even make my list.
I think DreamWorks was at a low at that point. I don't really. To me, they were until Kung Fu Panda came out with. You could possibly say Jack Black's. He played in some famous roles, but I think a lot of people recognize him as Poe now.
Well, he looks just like Poe.
I think they had an all-star cast too in it. And I think I could put the whole franchise in there. I think all of them are good, but for me, Kung Fu Panda was the best one.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you, I forgot about Kung Fu Panda, or it would have made my list. Because you had Jackie Chan, Angelina Jolie. I want to say there was a comedian in there that was one of them.
Who played
Dustin Hoffman.
I'm trying to remember who played the little.
Dustin Hoffman was the sensei.
Yeah. You had the turtle.
And then my number 5. Number 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Is Nightmare Before Christmas. It almost made number 1, but then with my heavy hitters above that. Nightmare Before Christmas, and I've talked about it in previous videos, so I won't go too far into it. It's Tim Burton, height of his career. I know people consider it Christmas, but I watch it year round. And some people even consider it Thanksgiving. I don't know why, but I've heard people mention it in Thanksgiving.
I understand Christmas and Halloween, but Thanksgiving?
Yeah, Halloween I was looking for, not Thanksgiving. Sorry. My brain is like, they're close to the same thing.
They're all in the 3 months.
My number 4 is Lion King.
Same.
Did you put Lion King as 4?
I did.
Lion King is one of those that
soundtrack's good.
It's one of the best soundtracks. The voice cast is phenomenal.
I mean, heck, they've made another animation movie after that. They made a live action, and then they made a second live action.
Well, there's what? I think at least 2 movies went to theaters. Lion King 1 and 2. There's 2.5. There's 3. There's
They made
Timon and Pumbaa
they
has
made
a
own
show.
TV show.
Yeah, they had a couple different shows, I believe.
The attraction at Disney World are always popular.
Mufasa is a movie now. So I mean, that's easy number 4.
I'm not.
Yeah, just go to 3.
I put number 3 is Despicable Me. Again, I think it's a generation thing, both from how we grew up.
That's another DreamWorks as well.
It's another DreamWorks movie. They created the Minions, and now the Minions have their own 2 going on 3 movies. I mean, there's supposed to be 2 other more Despicable Me movies. I think Steve Carell does good as Gru.
He looks like Gru.
I just think all around it's a good movie, and I feel like it gets its love, but it's underrated to a lot of people. That's my number 3.
My number 3 is Aladdin. I feel like you can't leave Aladdin off this list for me because soundtrack, I grew up with it. Robin Williams as Genie was perfect. Even though he was annoying, Gilbert Gottfried as Iago. Jafar, which I can never remember the guy's name that did Jafar. There was little Easter eggs for other movies in it. The soundtrack alone, I mean, I can't emphasize. I mean, that's top 5 soundtracks for Disney animated of all time.
During that period where Disney was putting out a good animation.
Yeah, the 90s had some of the best Disney movies of all time. Animated, we'll say animated, because now they have all kind of properties. That's my number 3. My number 2 is Beauty and the Beast. For the same reason as Aladdin, but one step higher with the songs. Not to mention, look at how many offshoots we've had of Beauty and the Beast. There's been, at least 3, maybe 4 live action. There's been versions of live action. Now, also, too, I mean, you got to look at the story. The story goes way back as well. But we had, I believe there was a Beauty and the Beast 2, I think, but it's like very obscure. But the song, once again, the soundtracks of the 90s Disney's put them high anyway. But then the voice talent, I mean, you had Be Our Guest is, I think, easily top 10 scores of all time. Our original songs, I guess. So that's my number 2 is Beauty and the Beast.
Number 2, I have Finding Nemo. Again, it goes back to, I think it released not too far from when I was born. It's one of those movies I saw, one of the first movies I've ever seen. And I don't think it gets love, but I think it's just one of those time periods where it gets looked over. The cast was good. I think Bruce the shark, he had to me, one of the most iconic lines is "Fish are friends, not food."
Yeah.
Again, that's why number 2.
Which I don't agree with.
That's why I got a number 2.
Who is your number 1?
My number 1 was Cars. If you've seen our all-time movie, it was my best all-time animation movie of all time. Yeah. I just think the cast, the crew, the story, it's a lot of people's top movies. Well, at least in top 10.
Right.
Now, I think the other 2 movies that came after it don't get enough love because people just hate on them. But I think Cars 1 for me is the number 1 for me.
My number 1 is Mulan. And it has my, like we did with songs, all time for movies. I'll Make a Man Out of You. It's on our all-time, for some reason I plug all the time, but our number 1 anime movie was Mulan of all time. Mulan, the voice cast, you throw in Eddie Murphy as Mushu. Eddie Murphy was like the goated for these type of roles. This music is up there. The story, where it is loosely based, there is some mythology to it. So that's my number one is Mulan, and I think the thing is Mulan nowadays gets kind of overlooked. A lot of your '90s stuff kind of looks, and even Cars, even though it gets mentioned, still gets overlooked too, because it paved the way for a lot of movies too.
Because you got to think that's the first to me that an inanimate object like a car
Yeah,
can have voice to it.
Yeah.
You know, not people in animation form. If you know what I mean.
right. But that is our top 10 animated, which I think we've done what, horror?
Well, we haven't done horror yet.
No, we did comedy
Comedy.
with actor. We did the Christmas movies, and now animated. So up next, I say we do horror.
Yeah.
Individual movies, not we have done franchises, but let's do individual movies.
Yes.
We'll do and actually I say we split it up and go 5 movies, 5 horror actors.
Okay.
It's gonna be it'll probably be more research for you than me, but we'll figure it off camera how we'll do the people.
Yeah.
But definitely 5 movies. The 5 movies. So you might put Scream 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Nah.
I might put Friday the 13th 1,
Now,
4, 5. That's not
Scream will be the number one. I can just go ahead and say
but-
Scream will be number one.
Kind of like in our pop culture, we'll hit that up first. I don't have a lot. We don't have a lot. We're kind of holding some back.
It was slow.
It's been a little slow with everything going on, but now that movies are trickling out,
Yeah.
your bigger movies
I mean,
are trickling out.
did we talk on the last one about Fantastic Four or anything?
We did. We talked a little bit on Fantastic Four. Marvel's really hitting up. I mean, it's hitting off hard. Which pay attention to the channel because we will be having a review for Captain America in the next week and a half. But my first bit of news, which we will be hitting Marvel. To start with, I do have some returning cast for Avengers Doomsday. Now, some of this has been announced and some of it's rumors. But even though he said he's not, I don't really trust the actors now.
You talking about the first one?
To be truthful, yeah, Benedict.
He has came out here recently. Well, you were going to say Benedict Cumberbatch.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
He did come out and say he was going to be in it.
Right.
That he got. I think he said he thought he heard the wrong movie.
I think he got confused.
I think he got confused, but then later on came back and said, "Yeah, I will be appearing."
I think they were
because the story don't make sense if he ain't in it.
I think they were talking about. I think he there because some of this they've been on press junctions with Fantastic Four and other movies, and I think that might have got mixed up with Fantastic Four. But with it being an Avengers movie, he's got to be in there. Of course, RDJ is Doctor Doom. Tom Holland as Spider-Man, has been wishy-washy since the last Spider-Man.
I think he'll be in there because his
he's
movie
got
is
to.
between both of them.
Yeah.
And
then Anthony Mackie's Captain America, which is obvious. Here's the kicker, and this has been said, but we don't know. Haley Atwell, who played Peggy Carter,
okay,
and Chris Evans will be back. Question is, are we getting... And some of this has changed since I've saw this, but it's mostly rumor. Chris Evans might be playing Captain Hydra, which is the evil Captain America. And Haley Atwell could be either Captain Britain, or was it Captain Britain she was, or back as Peggy Carter. It's not really been decided. I would like to see Evans back as both Captain America and like a flashback maybe. And Captain Hydra, I don't have a problem with it because, that's the way the, multiverse and timelines worked. And Haley Atwell, either way, I like her. And then, obviously, the Fantastic Four because this movie's setting up that. It should be, I would imagine, the same team that comes out this year. And the Thunderbolts are obviously going to be in it. Now, I'm expecting... at the end of Captain America, which we will be finding out, because I've been staying away from spoilers, even reviews. I watch like the first beginning, they give their grade, and then that's it. I don't watch anything else. I'm hoping we get some Doomsday vibes, or something like that. I figured we'll get like with Thunderbolts coming out. I don't think we'll have a post credit Thunderbolts thing because it's already determined.
Which I'm excited for.
But that's kind of like the list I have right now. There's going to be more added, but with Secret Wars like the next year, behind that, we'll have even more trickle out. Which I think you said you had something on.
It got reported by Discussing Films that Avengers Secret War is going to be filming in the summer of next year. Like this summer will be Doomsday. Next summer will be Secret Wars. Now that could always change because of how much VFX and stuff goes into making these Marvel movies. But as right now, it's set in stone to be filming up next summer of 26. Right. So as when Doomsday is getting released, they'll be filming Secret Wars.
Right. Which, I mean, they have a good plan right now. I just hope that they can execute it better than they have the past couple of years. I actually have nothing left on Marvel.
Which we might have some more once we see Captain America.
And the next thing I have is, and we've kind of talked about this already in the past, which you have a little bit of stuff, but Welcome to Derry will have 3 seasons, which we know. But the first season is going to start in 1962, then 1935, and then 1908. So they have officially released the exact time periods that the show will focus on. I'm already anxious to see it, but you said you had some news on it as well.
I got a report. I saw something. I can't remember where I got it from. That it got pushed back a year again, which is kind of frustrating. But there's no telling that they had to go do something else on it.
Not to mention you look at Pennywise, the guy's busy as all get out. Yeah. I think he's got like 5 movies over the next 2 years coming out.
Yeah, which I'm excited to see it whenever it comes back. Yeah. Whenever it comes out, not back, but I bet that's all I had.
Yeah, I mean, do you have anything else? Like I said, it's been very sparse, kind of.
I think the more stuff I think is going to start coming out, especially since Captain America is coming out. We're really hitting the peak of when big movies are coming out.
Yeah, and I would imagine they're going to give us more information on, future MCU, and DC is kind of like he said, like James Gunn said, it's not going to be every week. It's not going to be.
I don't think we hear anything major till Superman gets close to release.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 weeks before then. The same way with MCU, I like how they're releasing stuff, but they're also like, we're not going to give you this. Which is the older ways, and I like it.
Because recently, Thunderbolts' new trailer came out, and it was really good.
It was really good. I'm like a lot of other people, though. It's like, how are they going to beat this all-powerful being? But that's the good thing about movies is, it's for us to decide if we like it or not individually.
Well, you recently sat down and watched Scream 6.
I did. By the time this video comes up, it will be 2 days, but 1 day before this. No. And I put together how I felt just a little bit because I couldn't take much notes because I was so glued. And we're going to be ranking the 6 here in a little bit, so I'm not going to say where I would put it. The first 15 minutes of this movie was great. I loved it. And this is spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't saw it, but it's been out a year or two. So yeah I want to say 2023. Yeah, because it was back-to-back years they came out, and then there was because I think 2022 was 5.
Yes.
And then 2023 was 6.
Yes.
So see, I'm even behind, but the first 15 minutes I loved it. I loved how it was going to be like, oh well, why are they telling us the killer already? And then they took it.
3 kills in the first 10, 15.
Yeah, and it was like, because I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't, when it first started, I was like, man, this is a horrible opening. But then 5 minutes, it's like, okay. And then another 5, and I was like,
and for them to kill off Samantha Weaver like that, it was Samantha, I think I said that, her name right. Samantha Weaver, that's her name?
Samara?
Summer Wee.
Are you talking about real life?
Yeah.
I didn't know who that was, but I know, like, I didn't recognize her.
Ready or Not, or
oh, okay, that was her.
Yeah,
because I was like, she wasn't in previous movies, was she? That was racking my brain. Was she? She wasn't in previous. Okay, because I was like, I didn't remember. But the college student guy, and then he was so nice, like he did that, and then he was so nice to Jenna Ortega. I'm like, I kind of like this guy, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have to remember, he just like completely brutalized her. And then he gets home, and I started giggling as soon as he closed the door, and he's like, honey, I'm home, and I'm like, how are you so cavalier, man? You're like a psychopath. But that, and I was like, man, I can't believe they're already showing us. And then like, oh, they're just stab nut jobs, and I'm like, this is not going to be good. I'm like, I have been Scream 4 flashbacks, and then like the whole game was played, and I was like, why is Greg acting sketchy? Why are you acting sus? I guess. And then he like, I don't like the fact that the killer said, warm or cold. And I'm like, that's not the name of the game, is hot or cold, not warm or cold. Like, I'm sorry, little things like that bug me. But then he was like, warmer. And he's like, nope, cold. And he's like, well, I'm not playing anymore. He's like, and he turns around and he opens the fridge. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's great. Like, we're already more gruesome than I can remember in a while. I loved it. The opening was phenomenal. It's one of the best openings I would say, of all of them. Now, I don't remember 2 and 3 that well. I'll go ahead and put that out there.
1 is the best opening.
1 is the best opening. That's why I said like 6's opening is like right behind it. Because 5 had a good opening, don't get me wrong. All of them have had decent openings, but 1, obviously, because it's the original. But 6 already threw me off. And I was like, see, that's what I need. And then seeing Hayden Panettiere. At first, I didn't recognize her. I'm like, because I don't know what she looks like now in real life. Like, I grew up watching her shows. Like, I think we're about the same age, probably. She might be a little bit younger than me or a little bit older. I can't tell. She's playing the 30-year-old is what she told Gail. But it was good to see her back. And I was like, wait a minute, she was in the franchise, but I couldn't remember her name. And then they said Kirby. And I'm like, okay, I remember her being in them now, but I couldn't remember if she was in 2 or 3.
She was in 4.
But then I was like, wait a minute, no, she was in 4, so she's not been long gone from the franchise. So that was good. It was good to see her. It was cool that she was FBI, and all that. And then my favorite part, even though I kind of guessed it because I guess I've been watching horror and slasher for so long, I still pieced together, who the killers were before it was finally fully announced. I just didn't expect how good they wrote it in. But I love the family dynamic and the fact that Jack Quaid was actually his other son. Because there were parts of the movie I didn't catch what they were saying. Like Quinn, I couldn't see past how she was just not the type of girl I would go for. But, Dermot Mulroney, is that his? I feel like I'm mispronouncing
Talking about the dad?
Yeah, the dad was so good. He's always been a great actor, and he's even better. It was good to see Gail constantly be in it again. The fight she put up was
I thought
great.
She died. I thought
she was too. And, I texted you about how I was aggravated. And this was before it was done, but it was when I thought Chad was dead. I was so unhappy.
Oh, yeah.
He's my favorite. Chad's my favorite of it. Even the dumb...
I still don't know how I know why, but it was like, dude got butchered.
If you don't hit... You would have to bleed out if you don't hit organs. That'd be the only thing. But the way they each died was great. I loved it. Whenever she stabbed the son, and I can't remember his name, Ethan.
Yeah.
Ethan Landry. And stuff. And I was like, Jenna Ortega taking so many knife shots, man. Like, why in the world is she willing to do all this? And then she was like, well, it looks like you're down another brother. And then, shot her between the eyes in the forehead. And I was like, I love her. I love the fact that we're finally getting the main character is wiping them out, not just playing. Like she takes them out, and then her donning her dad's Scream outfit, the mask, and taking out the dad was great. I loved it. I loved how like he was in her mind, like talking
how
to
good
her,
it was,
and I love how we even at the end, like she might embrace it. Like I love that. I love the Easter eggs from the old movies. I mean, it was great to me. It had me glued.
I like what they said about Stu, about how they were talking about if he's alive or not.
Yeah, when
it was Mandy.
Yes, I wanted to say her name was Mandy, but I couldn't remember. But Mandy sat down, and then Kirby sat beside her, and she goes, "Well, that's if you believe it." And I love she used the TV to take out the son, but I would have been like, I would have double tapped. Like I would not have made their choice. I would have double tapped. And I love that the boyfriend finally was not like the killer. I'm like, they finally did. But then when the movie ended, they just walked away. And I was like, well, he should be able to go with them. Like, I don't know. And he's from Florida. I looked him up because I was like, I know I saw this dude. But I love how they can mix veteran actors in with new ones. Mm-hmm. They did it in 4 and 5, and in 6 they've done it well.
And how they were able to do it without Neve Campbell. There's still a piece of her in there.
Yeah, they mentioned it,
but she wasn't in there.
And there was some nostalgia in that too. The punch, Jenna Ortega punch to Courtney Cox. Mm-hmm. I love that because she dodged it. She's like, honey, I flipped it. Bam! That was good. That gave me feelings of the original. That stuff like that. I love how she said Sydney, deserves her happy ending. I was like, well, so does poor old Samantha. I mean, like, poor girl, man.
It's all Gail's own fault. She could just stay out of it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if she could, though.
I wouldn't mind if they did decide to go away with Gail and Kirby takes over that role.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that. And I loved because we don't know who was going after who. Well, we know Quinn went after both Mandy and Gail because she said it. But I loved how she was like, it would have been cool if you... And I was like, there's a couple people I could have thought of. Like, that's in the core 4, which I love. That's one of the reasons I love Chad. That's some junk I would come up with. That I could see them turn... The only thing that as soon as the dad said, oh, she's actually been kicked out of the FBI and all that, and she went crazy, I was like, why would she randomly go crazy because murders happened a year ago? Like, that was one thing Dora's like, you got to be smarter than that, girl, type thing. But I loved how, they did the 2 killer aspect and then showed it off. To me, that was better than 5 did. Obviously, better than 4 did. I love the fact that...
It was a new spin on it.
It was just one, and Chad was about to hit him with the gumball machine, which I would imagine that would hurt, especially the older gumball machines. And... stabbed, and it was like, wait a minute, there's 2, and I was like, there's always been 2. How did y'all not know this? And then I love that Mandy was like, I'm just done. I'm done. She's like, I'm done trying to figure out, because when it said Quinn was the 3rd one, she's like, and I don't know, that was just great. I
because
loved it.
If go back earlier, she was supposedly have gotten killed by,
right,
but it was a dummy. Mm-hmm. That got killed. Well, got stabbed and stuff.
Yeah. I felt bad for the Asian girl.
Oh, yeah. That was a brutal death.
It's like the cut up, and then he's like shaking the ladder. I would have been like, I would just lay there and be like, you know what? I'm dying. Because she was technically, I would have think she would have already been dead. Because of that. That was too much blood. She was just done. Because it went, halfway up, probably? And I'm like, I know it's not real, but there's still a part of me that's like, I don't like that. It's like, I can't. But they do it. My thing is with Scream, I feel like they've had their ups and downs, but the past two films have gotten better and better.
Yeah.
And
I just hate what happened.
and I'm anxious for 7 now. But we said before you leak your 7, we're gonna rank the 6 movies.
Okay.
And we'll start with, I say we start with worst first.
Worst?
So for number 6, and we only slightly talked about this through text last night. So, and like I said, I've not saw 2 and 3 in a long time. So refresh my memory on 2, and for the viewers on number 2.
Number 2, well, Sydney's in college now.
Okay, this is the campus one.
Yeah.
Where it was the mom.
Where it was Billy's
Loomis.
mom.
Okay, I already remember.
And it was the guy who was in film class that said he was going to get a prove that movies make killers.
Right.
And he was complete insanity.
Okay, I remember that. Is that where Leaf Schreiber dies?
That's
that
3.
one? That's 3.
3 is when they're in Hollywood.
Is 3 also where Jamie Kennedy dies?
That's 2.
Okay, I'm just trying to
3
make sure.
is where Leaf Schreiber dies. He is the main guy in his show he has.
Right.
This is where Patrick Dempsey is in as Detective Kincaid.
I need to go back and watch these then.
Third one was when they finally showed that Sidney Prescott's mom was there before by a different name.
But that was 3.
That was 3.
Okay.
This is the one with only one killer.
Okay, yeah, that was
Which was Roman Bridgers, which was her brother.
That was the one with the glasses, right?
That was her half brother. Was the killer in that one?
That was
yes,
the guy with glasses.
He was a He was the director of a stab movie.
Okay, that was 3. Okay,
Yes.
I can remember that now. So I can already tell you what my last one is. The worst one for me is 4.
Yeah.
For reasons we've talked about in previous movies. That's my worst.
My worst is between 3 and 4 because of the one killer aspect of how it's.
I think that's before they had what they were going to do. Because remember, they were going to stop after 3. Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly. And then it reignited. That's if I'm correct. I could be wrong.
4 wasn't bad, as a lot of people think it did. It's just the camera quality was bad. How they filmed
Mine
it.
was the story. Her reasons were so horrible for me.
I think 4 would be mine too for the same reason. I think it gets a lot of hate, but it's not the best one out of all of them.
Right.
But 4, like we've already said before, is the last one.
Yeah. Since you have the better knowledge, I'll do mine, and then if you want. Mine is 3. Mostly because I don't remember liking it that much, but I was okay with the story. Like, I was okay with the story. But, see, I'm with you on that same train. I think they were about to end the series, and then it just, like, ignited again. I don't remember why. It's the cultness, or I don't remember why, but they were talking about not doing more. But 3, there were certain aspects of it. Now that you mention it, I don't remember liking.
3, we're on the same page with 3. My problem with 3 is I didn't like the one killer aspect.
Mm-hmm.
There was a whole reason why it was just one killer. Right. I don't want to go on here. But they had a lot of rewrites about the killer and how the story was going to go. I'm not the biggest fan of the killer or the killing reveal.
Right.
I mean, I like it how it was her half brother from a different situation. A lot of the subplots like that, people that were playing them killed.
Right.
I remember who's the one married to the Wahlberg.
Jenny McCarthy?
Jenny McCarthy got killed.
Was she the radio show host?
No, she was one that was supposed to be playing some girl, and she went to the studio and it was Roman because that's when they used.
Was she one of the assistants?
No, she was one of the actresses.
She was the lead actress, wasn't she?
She was one of them, and they used a voice modulator to get her to the studio. Because that's when they used a voice modulator.
Yeah.
That was the first when they used it for different voices. And got her there and killed her in like the closet where a bunch of scream.
Well, I think you couldn't do that with the phones back then.
No, it was in a phone. It was like an actual.
That's what I'm saying.
Box, yeah.
You couldn't change your voice on phone. I don't think during that time.
And Cindy wasn't in a lot of the story.
Yeah.
Like she didn't get involved until like halfway because she was off in a secluded area where no one could find her.
Yeah, because wasn't it more Leave? Or it was more centered around the Stab movie itself, wasn't it?
Yeah, because Lee Schreiber died.
Set.
And Lee Schreiber died in the first like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Cotton Weary.
Cotton Weary, yes.
I always thought his name was cool.
But yeah, out of all of them, it's got to be next to last. And I don't think a lot of people disagree where we put it at.
I think number 3, now that we talk about, because I remember loving 2. I'm going to have to say my third one, or no, this would be 4th, would be number 5. I'm sorry, number 5. Well, I'm trying to remember because we're not writing it out, so I'm trying to, would be number 5. I really liked 5. I remember telling you how much I liked 5 and the cast and the additions. But it's not beating 6 for me. It's obviously not beating number 1. And when I was talking about number 2, I remember how much I loved number 2, the second one. Because it felt, I don't know, what I remember of 2 and some of the situations was like the 80s slashers. You know, like your Friday 13th and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to say, for number 4 would be 5.
Okay.
Did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. It took me a while because we're not writing them down, so it's kind of
my number 5. We're on 5 or 4.
We're on 4.
We're on 4. Okay. My number 4 will be number 4 from. My number 4 will be Scream 6. No, Scream 2. And here's the reason why. Hold up. I might change my mind. Let me think real fast. Actually, I'll put Scream 6 as my number 4. Just for the simple fact is, I like the nostalgia. I like the return of Hayden Panettiere. At some points, the story felt too long. I like the reveal of how it was Richie's basically family.
Mm-hmm.
I like how the subtle hints that they gave, like when the dad said, "If you F around with my family, you will die."
Yeah.
You know, saying that to
he did a lot of awkward pointing.
Yeah, but the only thing, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth as a big Scream fan as I am of how it ended afterwards with all the controversy. But that would be number 4 for me.
Yeah, you would have to tell me some of that because I don't know.
Yeah.
You keep promising to tell me and then I forget to remind you.
But that's number 4.
I've had to write this down so I know which ones I got left. My number 3 is number 2. Write that down. And the reason I said this is because, and some of this might be recency bias, is why 6 is going to end up being high. But 2 just, I don't know, the mom. I didn't even, now that you've refreshed my memory, I don't even remember suspecting her as one of the killers. And that's rare for me. Usually I can get it fast.
Because she was like, what Gail was, she was
she was like a
reporter.
Yeah, and she gave him, like, she seemed like she was always about to get murked. You know, like.
No, she was always.
Or she would show up at the randomest spots.
She would always show up like right after it happened.
And I'm trying to not mix I Know What You Did Last Summer too in this. Because, you know, they went a little bit of the same path. But wasn't also like, was it Jerry O'Connell was her boyfriend?
Yeah.
Thought he was the killer. Like, there was times he was mentioned as well. And it wasn't. So, and didn't there, like, she got in the back of the cop car and they killed the cop? And then she struggled to get out of the cop car?
They killed both of the cops.
But I meant she was in the
Yeah.
back and then couldn't get out because you can't open from the inside.
And then her friend couldn't get. Was her friend couldn't get out? No. They both got out
Because I'm trying to not to mix the two franchises right now.
because what happened? Talking about that scene where they were in the cop car.
Yeah.
Ghostface was actually driving the car,
Yes.
and the cop was on the hood, and they ran into some poles because they were doing some construction,
Right,
and the pole went
right.
into the cop's head,
Yes.
and it also knocked. I guess not quickly knocked, like he was knocked out for a little bit.
Mhm.
So they crawled over him, and Cindy went back to look to see if he was there, and he of course was gone,
Right.
and came back behind and stabbed her friend in the back.
Okay, that's what I thought. It's been over a decade
And that's when
since I saw the
Sydney.
second one.
Then we get in the final act where Cindy runs to the opera, where they're doing the play at that.
Yeah,
she's
the
in.
theater. Yeah.
And that's when it comes down that Jerry O'Connell was
Yeah.
on the star because they did some hazing. I guess
Yeah.
that's what they did because he gave his like fraternity necklace to Sydney and stuff. And that's when it showed, what is that actor's name that played the guy who was going to file for insanity? That movie, the parents don't make the killer, the movies make the killer. He's a
I don't
very
remember
big.
now. I can't even picture who it could be.
If you've seen your face, you would know who he was.
Yeah.
And that's when he came, and that's when he was telling Sydney how it was him, blah 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 blah, and then he shot Jerry O'Connell, basically killing him.
Right.
And that's when blah blah blah, and then that's when he went on a spill about, there's always two killers, and that's when she came out.
Yeah, I do remember that. Didn't was Tara Reid in this one? I was thinking there was like somebody killed that was like this might be
This is when Jada Pickett got killed
in the theater.
in the theater. I can't remember who her boyfriend was in the movie.
Yeah, it wasn't Wayans
No.
because that's a scary movie. Was it Omar Epps
It might have been Omar Epps.
or Taye Diggs? It was one of the two.
I think it was Omar Epps.
Because he gets stabbed in the ear.
Because he was listening up to...
Yeah, because Scary
But-
Movie's starting to go into my head.
Yeah,
too.
because he was listening up to the thing.
Because they wanted her off the stage, and she ends up getting murked, and they think it's all an act, and a bunch of weirdos. So that is my number 3.
My number
Sorry.
3 is the same thing.
Number 2.
Number 2. The same thing you said. I don't like how... I like Bailey Loomis's mom being there.
Yeah.
Because, again, killing her baby boy, yada, 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 yada. I just didn't like how they did the movies make the killer angle.
Right.
I understand at that point in time.
I think during that was a hot topic.
That was a hot
in
topic during that
society.
time. Which Scream does a lot of that.
Because I think video games was a hot topic during that
And
time.
I just didn't like it. Now, I didn't expect him to be it. Also, Jamie Kennedy's dying in that movie.
Right.
I didn't.
I think that was relatively early to mid movie too. Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was gruesome too.
Yeah, because ripped them into the van and
Yeah.
because I know.
Now I like the scene
right.
where they're going around like picking up phones, yada, yada, and then because that was when Jamie Kennedy was on the phone with them, and he had his back towards the van, and they got pulled in and stabbed.
Yeah, because it was a news van.
Yeah.
And I remember after that movie came out and people watched it, people were mad because you wanted him to last. And I'm glad that was one thing I'll say with 5 of getting the niece and nephew.
Yeah.
That was good because I'll always love Jamie Kennedy was one of my favorite characters.
But that's my number 3.
My number 2 is number 6, and it could be recency bias, but it was seeing Hayden Panettiere again. I love the story and it's setting it up like a cult. That, like I said, the opening is the second best opening of all time. I felt there were the memories of all the stuff they had from the different movies and the different stuff, and them showing it like they went in on it, like they zoomed in.
And we'll talk about later what I have about Scream, and
I love the fact that some of the stuff I remember, even though not seeing 2 and 3 in a long time, I was like, oh, I remember this, and this. The only thing about those displays is like the knives looked really fake. Like that was the only issue. They didn't look real at all. But then I loved when the curtain comes up and you see all of the different Scream outfits and the masks. I thought that was great. The only couple issues I had, and I didn't give it my grade because it was like the prototypical slasher trope. Not answering the phone at times angers the mess out of me. And I think they need to do away with that in slashers because you can still kind of disregard it, but whenever, and I'm mostly talking about when, I think his name was Danny, the cute guy across the hallway, the cute guy, tried to call her and say, hey, and the way they acted, that was so dumb to me. That actually angered me. That's how angry I was. But there was enough plot twist, even though I figured Ethan it was kind of obvious the whole time. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect Quinn to be the other one because it looked legit. But for some reason, the way when he walked back from finding out his daughter died, the way he was at first before breaking down, I was kind of like, that's a little sketchy. But then I kind of looked past it. The other trope I don't like is the splitting up thing. And I know why they do it in movies, but that gets old. Mm-hmm. But what got over those two was the brazenness of the killings. The going into the convenience store. It's so brazen. I love that. I love the
shotgun aspect to it too.
At first it angered me, but then I liked it. But I was like, man, how long does it take you to get the keys out of your pocket to toss them? That was my only problem. I hate, and I think this is more of a real life society thing. I wouldn't have said freeze. I would have just shot. I would have just pulled the trigger. But I understand why that's in there. That's also a little bit of real life. But the opening alone, the plot twist, the fact that it was the family affair, I like how they brought that over. I loved how she embraced the dark side, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And when she was stabbed, it was like, oh, it's like, and I love how, I feel like they miss it in slasher. I like how she went around the bulletproof vest. I feel like that could have been a big mess up if she would have went straight. And I'm glad they did that. And I love how it was like, I'm not a killer like my dad. And then it was the look between her and Jenna Ortega, and she was like, and bam. I loved it. That was all good. The acting in it to me was better since, we've saw in a long time, even though I do like 5. And I'm glad Chad's alive. And I love the fact that Mandy, or I think it was Mindy, showed up at the end and she was just like high as a kite on morphine or whatever. And she takes, but I like how they get their butt kicked. That's what I love about Scream is people get their tail kicked. Now there's some knife wounds I'm like, I'm just giving up. If I get them, I'm like, I'm just done. I'm bleeding out on sight. Like I ain't moving.
Yeah.
There's been a couple cuts. I was like, I'm not fighting it. I'm just going to be like, well,
I have a nice life.
And then, but I do enjoy it.
Number 2 is 5 for me. It came out to a time where I didn't really watch the Scream movies. Now I knew of Scream movies, but I didn't watch them. And then I saw the trailer and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this. I watched this before I even started watching all of them. You know how big of a Scream fan I am.
Yeah, you're a nut job.
I watched Scream 5 and that made me a fandom. Now it's not number 1 because I don't think nothing can top number 1.
Yeah, which one we'll get into in a second.
But the 5, I like what they did with 5. You had a young Jenny Ortega in there. Before she was really hit her stardom. You had a Jack Quaid who was in the boys, but really hasn't gone to where he is now. You had Madison. I forget her last name.
Is it Beer?
No,
It's not her.
It's Amber. She has taken a skyrocket over the past year. You know, both the twins in there being Randy's niece and nephew. I like the Killers. How they were there was nut job because they were mad at the Stab franchise for going off the story.
Right.
I like that. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but it was something fresh rather than hooking up with a mother. Now, it was still the boyfriend and a friend, but now it's not just going to mainly. Melissa Barrera was the main girl, but Jenny Ortega was like right there, up there next to her, because it wasn't like it was, both her boyfriend and friend.
Right.
It was
It's one of
Melissa
each.
Barrera's boyfriend, but then it was also Jenny Ortega's sister's friend. Jenny Ortega's friend.
And he was cheating on his own girlfriend, both of them, technically.
Yeah. Well, it was a ploy to get Melissa Barrera.
Yeah, but he still kissed one girl, and then he was obviously doing something with the other one. So, I would just say
but
that.
I like the fact how Campbell and Gail both came back.
And still kicked tail.
And can't forget about Dewey dying.
Yeah, that's one reason it got ranked low.
Yeah. Especially who killed her. So supposedly who killed her. Killed him, I mean. I think Jenny Ortega did really good. Both of them did. I think the actors were on point. I think Jack Quaid, Richie don't get enough love of how he was portrayed.
Right.
Being the clueless guy that didn't know what was going on. Didn't know anything about the Stab franchise.
Yeah.
Everything, and then it comes out Scream 6. He did know everything. He was a nut job for it.
That whole place was actually his.
Yeah. It was. That's why it's up there for 2 for me. And I guess we can both talk about 1 because it's.
I don't even know if we need to. I think
I've already said all of them.
Well, and see, here's the thing where I could say it's 1, and then 1's here, and then 6 is here. Like there's such a huge gap. And I will say this for both 5 and 6. Using Skeet Ulrich like as in her head, but like when she looked into, and I know we're kind of getting back on 6 and 5, but just to sum up why 1 is the best, I love the fact that Skeet Ulrich, because I'm wondering how they came to him and was like, hey, you're not going to be in it a lot, but you're monumental, because he's monumental. I don't think 5 and 6 is as good without his little in her mind.
See, I watch a lot of their panel things because they do a lot of Scream.
Yeah, I get bored with that. That's my part. I'm not saying they're boring. It's just I struggle with.
Yeah, and I don't think both Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard, which we'll talk more about Matthew Lillard in a little bit, I don't think they would go back to it because they know how much of a legacy that has in their career and how they wouldn't want to mess it up unless it was right. And I think they did the right thing with him coming back up, being in her head because she has what's where you hear voices in your head type of medical problem.
Randy Orton.
Medical problems where she's got to take medicine to help that. I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, now I'm singing this song in my head.
But that's why I hope one day they can bring Melissa Barrera back.
Yeah, because
to finish off the story.
7's not going to be the ending. But I will go back and say this. One thing that angered me about 6, as much as I like Melissa Barrera, her character development, there's parts of it I didn't like in 6.
Mm-hmm.
It
felt like Jenny Ortega got more of the character development than Melissa Barrera did.
Now, I will say, I know I'm going back to 6 a little bit because I just saw it. I liked it. The way the therapist got it, I was like, you know what? Hands off Ghostface. because
But did it in
the
broad
way
daylight,
the way he treated her angered me. Because it's like, you're supposed to be her therapist. You're supposed to help her. You asked her to tell you, and then you completely jerkify it. And my thing is, as far as I know, neither one of them are going to be in 7. But I think it's okay. Because I feel like they're able to take a break. You know?
And I'll tell you off screen, like right after we get down here, why. But to me, the main reason why they say they're gonna boycott it, but I know they're gonna watch it.
I'm watching it.
Is because of what happened to Melissa Barrera. But I totally agree with you. The movie's gonna do fine without Melissa Barrera. Now, yes, as a fandom as I have, I want Melissa Barrera back to get her story finished. But let Campbell get her story finished. She is the main final girl.
She is the face that runs the place.
Yes.
She's
AJ Styles.
I'm sorry. I didn't even mean to make that reference. It just happened.
But it's the truth. To me, and we'll talk about final girls later, she is the final girl.
Yeah. She's the final boss.
But let her get her story finished.
Well, and to iterate on that, I think 7 will be her last. Because it's confirmed she's back.
Which you want to get into my...
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, didn't you say, I think the last time or time before, Courtney Cox is signed back as well.
Courtney Cox is back.
And I think 7, it needs to finalize, if not Sydney, at least Gail. I think Gail, and I'm not saying kill her off, I'm just saying be done.
There's reports that they're thinking about doing an 8th one.
They need to, because there's too much left undone.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I don't think it's to the point where, I know I'm going to probably anger some fans, but with Friday the 13th, they didn't really have to go to space. You know, they didn't have to...
Space is kind of like one of my favorites.
Or, you know, or...
Because of 2 parts.
Well, the night... Well, Freddy Krueger, did they have to do all that what they did to him?
But that was a different time.
That was a different time.
People didn't expect story. They just expected...
Yeah. And with Scream, I feel like you get more story.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, you get your gruesome parts.
Yeah.
But I feel like you get your story. And that's my whole thing.
I feel like they brought the gruesome back. Starting with 4, technically.
Yeah. But getting to our Scream 7 news, Matthew Lillard is officially back. Which he posted on his own Instagram doing terrible handwriting.
Well, I mean, he kind of messed up.
Yeah, which I'm excited because Kevin Williamson, the original screenplay writer, he's doing what he wanted Scream 3 to be.
Yeah.
He's finally been able to do it, which I'm super excited to see what he does.
Which he did 7 or 6. I mean, he had ends with 6.
I think so.
Yeah, because I saw it in the post.
And I'm excited to see what he does with it because, again, that's his brainchild. That's what helped his career.
Well, just as like the way I would like for him to show up, we've talked about this in the past, and I think it's already been kind of talked about, you know, them being like a cult, kind of. A part of me, I'm not going to lie, a part of me, what I would have seen if Melissa Barrera was coming back, was her going to the dark side and him taking her under his wing, kind of. Would be, I don't know, I just kind of would like to see that because those are my 2 favorites.
I think this is the one where Matthew Lillard dies in.
Yeah, I think he's done. But a part of me is like, you know, what if he ends up being like on a redemption arc? I know they won't, but a part of me, you know, likes that type stuff.
Yeah.
Where you see the villain become not necessarily the hero, but you kind of like agree with.
I think they'll go the cult way. Like they want to do. I think that 3.
I think they put that in there because of 6. 6 has already kind of helped with that.
Yeah, where they'll bring. I don't know if they'll bring back past killers because they're dead.
Yeah.
But speaking of past, they are bringing back Roman Bridger, who was her brother in it,
which was 3.
But I think it's gonna be more of an AI situation where the killer's actually using him to get in her head. Mm-hmm. I think
maybe even voice.
Like it's supposed to be. I think Matthew Lillard will be live, like he's actually because it's that theory: is he dead or not? But there were some rumors that Scream 4, what was her name?
Emma, you talking about
Emma Roberts might return back, which that kind of cooled off a little bit.
I hope not.
But if you think about her death, did she really?
Yeah, from that aspect, I see it, but
I don't think
the character was so unlikable.
Which also, that writing was not the best, if we're going to be brutally honest.
That felt like they were just trying to bring it back, so we're going to put an idea out.
Yeah. I'm interested to see, of course, people will go see it just to see Matthew Lillard being a Stu, which I'm going to go see it.
And, well, even Sydney. If Sydney's going to be in it from minute one or, whenever
because
they
people are
going
going
to
to, people can't wait to see what he looks like.
Yeah.
And
who knows? He might have a kid as well that's going to be one of the killers.
Someone's got to be crazy if he's going to, mess around with that. But
somebody messed with Billy.
Yeah, but that was before he was killed.
There's no way that girl had no clue.
Which
he showed signs.
Fun thing about that, in Scream 1, you can see the girl walk past Sydney.
Yeah,
you've seen what I'm talking about. Yeah, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah, because I bought it, I think, on 4K recently.
Yeah,
and then I think I've owned it 3 times.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see what the story is. Now they had to take a break recently because of all the snow and stuff like that. It's been gone because they're filming up in Atlanta.
It is not a Christmas movie.
No, it's not. It just happened to be snow.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see it. It comes out around this time next year. March 7th, I think, or something like that. But I'm excited to see what it is. The twins are back. Chad and Mindy are both back. Gail, Sydney.
Will they be in Woodsboro though?
I don't think they're in Woodsboro. I don't think they're in Woodsboro. I don't know. They're in a different part, but
they're in Michigan. I thought that was so funny when she told that guy that. I was like, "No, you're not." But then going upstairs, he's like, "Oh, you're the girl from California." I was like, "Somebody tells me they're from Michigan. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're actually so and so." Bruh. I mean,
yeah.
Of course, he was. Also
I'm excited to see. They have came out and said some name what Sydney's daughter's names are going to be. They have came out and said that.
Or her husband might be in it. Did you say that husband might be in it?
The husband is. You're talking about
in the new movie. I'm talking in the new one. We will actually physically see him.
Yes. What's his name?
Patrick. Well, it wasn't Patrick Dempsey.
No, it was
because he's busy.
He plays in Animal Control. What is his name? He's a
Paw
lead.
Patrol.
No, it's on Fox.
Yeah, I don't watch it. Jason Sudeikis.
No, not Jason. Which I would probably like to see Jason Sudeikis.
Will Sudeikis. That's,
he played. Did you ever see the movie Blended?
No.
With Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore? No.
I mean, I probably have, but it's probably been 200 years ago. Anyway,
we're getting off topic, but
paper cut. Oh.
I'm hoping to get more Scream 7 news next time we meet, which I always do. But that's about all I have for today.
We were gonna rank killers from the movies.
Oh, we still want to do that?
Let's not.
Yeah. We'll hold that off.
We'll hold that up for the next.
Because
we are doing horror movies next time, so we'll also do that ranking. But that's all we got for this pop culture. So until next time, like, share, subscribe. Come back for horror, which will be in a month.
3 weeks. No, that's right.
It'll be a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. But until then,
check out our Captain America coming out soon too.
Yes, and Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber 2019. But until next time, we'll see you later.
Peace.